Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. I hope you're having a great day. Let's take another look here at XRP, see what's going on. We are going to double check this local high, kind of see if that is potential for a retest. We're at an overextended state right now, so it makes a little more sense to see a bit more of a pullback, just based on the fact that I'm expecting Bitcoin to maybe do the same. But that doesn't mean we have to just take a short or potentially miss out on an opportunity. It may be advantageous to consider adding to your position and maybe averaging on the way down, because Bitcoin has officially broken bullish. While it's not 100% confirmed, it's like 95. It's a very solid consideration for the price action going up on most altcoins. While XRP is drawing dead, we want to kind of recognize key level resistances and supports and kind of go from there. So if you're new to the channel, I just want to say thanks again for being an awesome part of my life. Welcome aboard. Congrats to our community members here for some nice profits on our Ethereum long from last week, Near Protocol from 2 weeks ago. That was a swing trade. Basically, when we swing trade, folks, we have multiple profit targets to ensure that we take some extra profit off of the trade, and let the trade run, if you will. Okay, so that's generally the favorable consideration. So I would recommend something similar for you. Average in, average out of your position. It works a lot better that way. And again, different strategies for different folks, but this kind of market right now, highly manipulated. You got to secure profits when you can. All that being said, XRP, what are we looking at here? Well, liquidation 260 to 265. We can see more of a macro consideration there for that local high. Once that's retested, we'll probably see a run towards 270. So the question obviously is it going to continue further up here? I say short answer is yes. We're seeing a pretty significant cup and handle pattern here. We'll look at that on smaller time frames. But the overall sentiment here is interesting because when it comes to XRP, like unlike other coins, you take a look here, all the liquidation deltas for most of these other coins is super green. In other words, like look at Bitcoin, for example. It's monstrously huge. There's a right way to say it. 14 billion in liquidation delta, basically telling us we have way more longs than shorts on that coin. Whereas XRP, almost the exact opposite. Now this is actually favorable in a lot of ways, because what happens when you have liquidation too low for too long or too high, the price action will start to shift its momentum because it's been overextended for too long. In other words, too many people are trying to short this coin right now, and it's all the more reason why it'll probably go up. Having said that, we do have some resistance above us with open interest, 255, 248. Those are some areas of resistance, but we also have support below us, 238 and 243. So we're kind of smack dab in the middle of a range. So oftentimes when ranges occur, there's a stronger likelihood of breakout in either direction. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to just break out to the upside, but we are establishing higher lows and higher highs, generally a favorable sign. Okay? So daily time frame, let's look at this here. We can see the macro trend essentially has been broken. The 20-day SMA, we're above that. We're tentatively above the 50-day SMA, so we close above just say 240 or higher today. I think we'll have a pretty solid chance of continuing further up. Just note that Bitcoin's probably going to pull back to the 86, 85K range. If that happens, I think XRP may pull back a little bit as well. But from a macro perspective here, believe it or not, it's actually looking pretty solid. We're above 50 on the RSI. Money flow index is super high, implying more money flowing into this coin at a higher price point. And we also got the traditional moving average there on the RSI. We're above that as well. Those are all very favorable signs. So we've got a pretty distinct probability of further upside here. Just note that we are at a 9 on TD sequential. We've been running for 36 hours straight in the same direction without pullback. So natural pullbacks occur when you see this happen. When we look at the RSI, we're right there in that sweet spot. We really like to see that. MACD's converging too. 4-hour time frame looks pretty solid. And then if we take a look at the hourly, it's roughly the same situation here, where we can see that window of opportunity is kind of coming to an end. And there's a little bit of a fair value gap down as low as 234. So we just see this pretty significant range right now of like 248 as a resistance and roughly 235 as a support. So we're kind of still stuck in a channel, if you will. And if we look at the 4-hour time frame, we really want to be above this 242 level. Okay, so based on open interest and the previous high, hypothetically, we see this as a new low. Okay, so that's roughly what we're looking at there. I would say the price pulls back down to the low 240 range. That'd be a consideration for long. Just bear in mind too, Bitcoin pulls back further to fill its CME gap at like 85K. There's a distinct probability XRP will continue lower and invalidate its long consideration. So I would just highly recommend paying attention to this 242, 243 mark. We hold above that today, probably a green light to go higher. And that's based on the premise that Bitcoin doesn't drop below 87,000. There's a support at 86.8K for Bitcoin, where I'm expecting the price to potentially bounce here if it pulls back to this level. Okay, just some things to kind of think about. All right, it's never an exact science, folks. You always roll with the punches and go with the flow. Right now the flow is up, so it's best in general to consider the trade or to consider a long position, even though we have some opposing indications, if you will. But I much rather wait, personally, for me, if I were to consider a trade on this coin, I would want to wait for it to be able to hold this current range first, and then potentially consider a long. But I think the margins are just not good enough here for me to want to warrant a position. That's just me personally. What you should do, though, is consider Bitunix. Awesome exchange, link down below. No KYC or VPN required. Our community favorite, awesome rewards if you use my link to register, because they have monthly bonuses and benefits. Also, check us out on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord, and I look forward to working with you. Have yourself a great rest of the day. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.